Live to Holyrood, former First Minister Nicola Sturgeon speaking.
Representing my constituents, I understand and accept that part and parcel of me being able to do that is give all of you an opportunity to ask me questions, hence being here to speak to you today. I know you understand that I am heavily constrained in what I can say. I can't go into any detail. You also know my position. I set that out a week past on Sunday. I set it out again outside my home on Sunday just past. I respect and fully understand the process that is underway, but I am absolutely certain that I have done nothing wrong, and that is a position that I will continue to maintain. So that's really all I'm able to say, but I know you'll have a range of questions. Some of them I may not be able to answer in detail, but I'll do my best to answer any questions that you have.
Can you tell us why you were arrested in the first place?
I'm not going to comment on the police investigation. That's a matter for the police.
You can't tell us the grounds for your arrest?
Obviously, you know it's in connection with the ongoing investigation. For me to go anywhere beyond that would be trespassing on the detail of a police investigation, which I know, Colin, you understand I'm not able
Nicola
to do.
Sturgeon, do you believe that you're becoming a distraction to the SNP by continuing your membership at the moment when Humza Yousaf has had such a rough couple of months? Would it be the best thing for you to temporarily step back, as some of your colleagues have suggested? Well,
firstly, I think Humza is doing a fantastic job as First Minister. When he was elected as First Minister, I expected him to do a good job. I wish he hadn't faced some of the circumstances he has, but I'm incredibly proud of the job he is doing, and I think he's getting on with that on behalf of the people of Scotland. On the wider question, it won't surprise anybody to hear that, I search my soul on these questions on an ongoing basis. I have dedicated most of my life to the SNP, and I don't say that to make it sound like a sacrifice. It's not been a sacrifice. The opportunities and experiences I've had in return have been immense. But the interests of the SNP are as close to my heart as it's possible for anything to be. There may be an argument if I thought that if I was to step aside, that you would all then accept that this had nothing to do with the SNP. There may be an argument that's not the case, but also what that would do, I think, would be to compromise my ability and my right to assert the position that I hold absolutely, which is that I have done nothing wrong. But I will always consider, and I'll consider on an ongoing basis at all times, what's in the best interest of the SNP, a party that I have given my all to over almost my entire life, and an organisation that for me is not abstract. It's made up of my friends, my family, my colleagues. You've heard me describe it before as my extended family. That's the depth of love, affection and concern I have for the SNP.
Haven't you in the past asked others to step back from the party when they've said they've done nothing wrong?
Well, that assertion has been made, and there have been some over the past few days that have made their position clear, and I respect their position. In one case in particular, I absolutely understand the feelings that drive that position. But you're not actually correct to assert that that was some iron precedent. I can think of one case in particular, probably the most analogous case to the one that I am in right now, where there wasn't any demand or expectation for that individual to step aside. So I will always consider what is in the best interests of the SNP. As I've said before, and I repeat, I don't say it as any kind of suggestion it's been a sacrifice. The SNP has been my life, and that's been voluntary and something that I cherish and continue to cherish. But I'm also an individual that is entitled to assert what I believe to my very, very core, that I have done nothing wrong. I respect the process that is underway, but I will continue to maintain that very clear position. You've had a question. I'm going to take this question, then I'll come back.
You must have thought about quitting.
Look, I think about what's in the best interests of the party I've given my life to, what's in the best interests of the government that until very recently I headed and spent 16 years either being the head of or second in command in. And obviously, I think a lot about, in this difficult situation, what is best for me as an individual. And I will come to judgments. People can disagree or agree with those judgments. That is entirely down to them. I understand some of the comments that have been made, but I take all of these issues and considerations very seriously. Now, don't all shout at me at once. I'm going to come right. Sorry.
Is your husband also innocent of any wrong?
Look, and before I say what I'm about to say, I'm saying it as a statement of fact, not a loaded statement that you should read anything into one way or the other. But in a situation like this, I can only speak for myself, and I am only speaking for myself. There is also a difference between me and my husband. I am an elected politician. I am a public servant, and therefore there is an expectation, I think a legitimate expectation on your part, that I make statements and, to the best of my ability, answer questions. Obviously, Peter is not in that position. Right, John.
Your approval ratings are going through the floor. Your party numbers are going backwards, and some of your colleagues frankly think it's your fault and it'd be better if you stepped aside.
I've covered that, and I'm not going to say any more. People are entitled to that opinion. I've set out as clearly as I can my position. I've been deeply touched by the support I've had from people I know, from people in the wider public that I've never met over recent days. In this kind of situation, I don't take that for granted at all, but I've been deeply touched by it, and given that I'm standing in front of all of you and in front of cameras right now, I'd want to take the opportunity to thank people for that.
Michelle Thompson an apology for the way she was treated?
I understand Michelle's position. I understand why she said what she has said. Right now, I'm speaking for myself.
Nicola Sturgeon, when you resigned, you told ITV News in an interview that the last thing you wanted to do was to be unhelpful to your successor. The day before his first big speech on independence is when you decided to give an impromptu press conference on your driveway, coming out speaking to the media to go back home. Timing is really crucial in politics, which you know well. Is there a part of you that thinks that this circus now surrounding you, or partly you're engaging with, is now becoming unhelpful to Hamza Yousaf?
Well, firstly, there is a process underway that I am not in control of. Clearly, if I was in control of it, we wouldn't be standing here right now. And I don't say that to be light-hearted in any way. There's nothing about this that I am light-hearted about. But Peter, you've characterised that question there that suggests that I am somehow choosing to stand before you right now. I am choosing to do it because, and I should say this is not a criticism of you, it's you doing your job. If I hadn't done this today, then I couldn't have come here to Parliament and gone about my job, because I wouldn't have been able to walk through this lobby without all of you trying to, in an impromptu way, do what is done. I couldn't have gone back inside my own house on Sunday because there were members of the media outside without stopping to speak, or you would all have understandably stayed out of there. So I am doing these things in order to subject myself to the scrutiny that you're all entitled to subject me to as an elected politician, and also to try to give myself the ability, notwithstanding what is going on right now, to do my job, because I have a job to do on behalf of my constituents, and I'm going to do it. I think Hamza Yousaf, well, Hamza can and is very able to speak for himself. On this issue, he has spoken for himself, and I'm not going to try to do it on his behalf. Hamza's doing an excellent job, and I'm not talking on these matters, I'm talking more widely. I think Hamza, having been in the job for a relatively short period of time, is proving himself to be a very, very fine First Minister indeed. I'm going to... It's not been the best period of my life, Colin. I think that is probably an understatement. It's not an easy period, but again, I'm not saying that for sympathy. This is a serious process. It's a process that I respect and will continue to do so, but I don't think it is perhaps the most difficult question to be asked to say in these circumstances, am I finding it easy? I think the answer to that is probably pretty obvious.
Ms Sturgeon, will you resign if you are charged by?
I'm not going to speculate. The thing that sustains me right now is the certainty that I have done nothing wrong, and I'm entitled to that presumption in law, but actually more than that, that is a view that I know, it's not a view, it is a belief and a certainty that I have. Right, I'm going to take a couple more questions before I free up the garden lobby. Well, I answered that question to Simon. I don't know if you heard it. This is a statement of fact, so don't read anything one way or the other into this. I can only speak for myself in these matters. I'm here speaking for myself, and as I have done previously, expressing again my certainty that I have done nothing wrong.
So we heard that the SNP is sliding the polls, your satisfaction rate is plummeting. Independence vote seems to be holding steady. Are you relieved that your arrest hasn't been impacting on the wider movement?
Well, Look, I think the case for Scottish independence is strong. I think it gets stronger every day. I'm not here to engage in, well, you can ask me political questions if you want. That's not the purpose of me being here. But I think the case for Scottish independence is getting stronger, and my belief that Scotland will soon be an independent country is unshaken and unshakable. Thank you all very much indeed.
Oh, there you have it, the former First Minister of Scotland, Nicola Sturgeon, returning to Holyrood for the first time since her arrest over the party's finances, wanting to come out and address journalists so that essentially she can get on with her job, she said. She reiterated the fact that she has done nothing wrong. She says, I am certain I've done nothing wrong, but I respect the process. But I know to my core that I have done nothing wrong. Let's bring in our Scotland correspondent, Conor Gillis, who was there. So, Conor, we did wonder why Nicola Sturgeon was calling this press conference, but we get a bit of understanding now. She's wanting to put herself up for scrutiny in front of journalists. So essentially, as she says, she can get on with serving her constituents.
Yeah, this has been a circus that has been a long time coming. Many people have been asking over the course of the last week when Nicola Sturgeon would come and answer questions, those questions that you heard in full here on Sky News. And that was this moment. This is her trying to draw a line under that very difficult period that she endured more than 1 week ago when she presented herself at a police station and subjected herself under police arrest to more than 7 hours of questions. Questions focusing on the SNP's funding and its finances. Questions as part of a police probe that have dated back more than 2 years now, culminating in her arrest that has also witnessed the arrest of her husband and the then treasurer of the SNP. She said clearly that this had not been an easy time for her. She wasn't wanting to look for sympathy here. But when questioned during that exchange over the course of the last 20 minutes or so, she was clear that she is not intending to step back, albeit temporarily, from the Scottish National Party, the party that she once led, at all. She plans to stay there no matter how much of a distraction that becomes for the new leader, Humza Yousaf. The reason, she says, is because if she was to take a step back, albeit on a temporary basis, then that may undermine her position that she is innocent of any wrongdoing. So this was Nicola Sturgeon trying to draw a line under this investigation. Clearly that is continuing. Police will be going over what they learned, what they were listening to when discussing the SNP's funding and finances with the former First Minister. But this has also become an almighty distraction for the new First Minister here in Scotland, Humza Yousaf. Yesterday he was trying to re-change the conversation, change it back to the main mission of Scottish independence for the SNP, and Nicola Sturgeon herself came out on her own doorstep, returning from hiding after a week to answer questions on Sunday, then again those 20 minutes or so that we heard from her there. So what will happen next? Well, this police investigation will continue. Nicola Sturgeon says she hopes to continue on with her day job here at Holyrood.
Conor, thank you. Conor Gillis with the latest there from Holyrood. Right, let's bring you an update on the breaking news we brought you earlier. It concerns President